So what are the things that come up most often for you guys that are maybe like the top one, two, or three? What are the things that come up that do make it really complicated to template, and how do you guys usually overcome that?
In terms of templating or the problems that clients that have that we need to template?
In relation to onboarding, what are the things you guys have seen over the years that come up over and over where you go, shit, this doesn't fall into a templatable, repeatable process? What are those maybe top things?
I
I can
don't
give you
think
some
there is.
examples.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll say straight up, man. Like we work with like a lot of clients, and I look. My brain always looks for universals rather than specifics because the specifics you just naturally deal with. I'm always going, where's the common pattern here that applies to all clients? That if we stamp it out once, it stamps it out for like all the clients. So I actually probably have a mental block of filter there because I don't tend to think that way. But I'll ask
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. So I think the most obvious thing that comes up, and it's always like, it's another one of those. And like, I wish I could just template it, but I would say a headline would be like a varied tech stack. So when there's varying tech stacks, so different internal analytics,
Yep.
custom CRMs, different types of CRMs, back end e-commerce shopping platforms, fuck, it creates a real fork in the road where you go,
Yeah.
shit, I had everything ready for Shopify and
Yeah.
GA4, HubSpot, whatever, but you're going to get that sometimes where that is not their tech stack. And so, each system is obviously going to demand a kind of a custom approach to how you're going to integrate that into your pipelines, if that's something that you do in a more advanced level. Your reporting is going to have to be customized if you're trying hard to have a custom report and not just like a basic Looker Studio that
Yeah.
everybody can steal from everybody else. Like if you're really trying to make it more custom for them, and that's part of your service offerings, then a varied tech stack is going to really throw a wrench into this
Yeah.
what's happening. Also, attribution. Some companies are going to use third-party attribution tools. Some are going to be relying on Google's self-attributed data. So, that's very difficult to just plug and play at scale because a lot of clients are not going to fit into just GA4, Google Ads, and that's it. And there's going to be usually the bigger, more sophisticated, more complicated clients are going to have varying tech stacks that you might not have a template ready to go for, and that is going to create some complication in the
Yeah.
onboarding process, and that is probably the most common one that I would say.
Interesting. Well, look, I agree with you, and most clients and businesses don't require that. Now, they might for you because you are the god of analytics. Most clients that we work with, and once again, that's for e-commerce and usually higher tier, higher
and,
quality
and
e-commerce
lead
stores.
gen
Lead gen using
yeah.
attribution.
CRMs, yeah, Wicked reports for attribution, different analytics programs, data pipelines, data warehouses. Those are all pretty relevant.
I'm going to give you some do you want some cold water on the face? Most businesses are
No,
not that sophisticated. I've got clients spending hundreds of
most,
thousands of
Michael,
dollars a month.
most.
Yeah, honestly,
Well,
I would say
depends
most of
on.
them, when they use the data, it does go into a CRM. But as far as the analytics that they do or require or request, it's not there. So this is the challenge with us versus a normal person watching this. You and I are very, very focused on the analytics and the data analysis. Most advertisers aren't.
Mm-hmm.
So the stuff we're talking about, well, it's probably on like the real top end. So that's the challenge is for us, it always starts off with just getting the access to the ad accounts and then just like those types of things. And those are some of the problems is just like getting access to the accounts, getting the billing set up, getting a contract signed. Like it's really
It
that
can take a
simple.
while sometimes. Yeah.
But that's what it is. It's like when you need a contract signed, it's like taking like 4 weeks to get signed. It's like, guys, you could take one day. Or like getting access to an account,
Well,
or like having an onboarding call and like, I'm busy. So whilst, dude, there's been so many times and currently with clients with the onboarding, getting that data, we start without that. That's the thing. Like we can start without that data purely just because it's like, that's an add-on to the service, not the core service itself. I know for you it might be the core service because, man, from direct experience, people take months for us to get that client, like that done, like months. Like literally we could be like, I will say from the start, okay, we'll do all this analytics work for you. I'll just need that pulled into a Google Sheet or a data place like this. All you got to do is there. 6 months later, 8 months later, it's still not done because I'm relying on third party. Like I'm not the developer pulling that data through an API. Like I'm waiting for that. And I've realized if I'm waiting for that, I'll be waiting a long ass time because most businesses are, just dealing with their day to day are reactive and things like this are quite proactive. But for them, because it's so proactive, and they don't understand the depth of it, they don't prioritize it. And now I'm fine because I can just keep going on. Like that's just additional really hard work we need to do. But for the onboarding, this is just like, once again, looping back to the onboarding, at least for us, I plant that seed that we need that, but it's not essential to start because it's just, I know from past experience, it will take them months to do, even if they do it.
Well,
Although I know with
assumes
you,
they don't have it, right? Yeah, go ahead.
well, it assumes that they have it. They just don't have the capacity or capability to actually give it to me.
Oh, you mean just straight access, right?
Just straight and access as in not me having access to their CRM. They'll give that to me. I don't want that. I want them to port it over to a Google Sheet so then I can use that raw data. Now, I know that sounds so simple, but dude, I've got a client at the moment who did $3 million with us last year in the renovation space. And I'm going, guys, can I please just get like an export of all your sales last year in one column, their email address, and one column, the sales volume? Dude, it's a simple export. I still haven't got it after like 8 months of asking. Like it's, and then I've got other clients that they've got a database CRM of like 80,000 leads over the last year and a bit that we've been working with. And it just took them like 8 months again just to like get it. Now, this sheet is ridiculous. It takes like 3 minutes to load the data in a Google Sheet, man. It is cooked. There is so much data in there. But even still, it's waiting. I know now, waiting for offline data to start working, I'll be sitting waiting and not being paid for a long ass time.
Sure.
And it's just pattern recognition. But you, mate, you might be able to twist arms and stuff. So let's loop back to you and your experience with that. Do you enforce that you need that data from the start, or do you start without it and then start to go, look, guys, I need this from you?
Yeah, so I want to be clear. I don't see this as a lens of it's either simple or it's complicated. I think in reality it is about what your agency is willing and able to offer, right? As a service package. Some agencies just don't have the internal capacity or resources or the just desire, right, to offer data pipelines and building those things out so that we can do the best job possible, or we can have all the transparency on the data. If you're going to find an agency like that, it's pretty rare. I mean, again, that's one of the reasons clients pay me a premium, is because I don't have to wait for some other agency to do that for me. Like, I pride myself on the data science side. And part of that is building out my own and customizing my own proprietary models, so that they can benefit from that. But these are usually, again, going to be larger clients that are able and willing to pay a premium because they do need and want, they have a desire for those types of systems. They want to start getting more predictive with their marketing. They don't just want to be stuck in sort of static reporting. They want to be able to forecast some stuff and plan around that. And in order to do that, we need the data pipelines. And I don't personally want to wait for some other data scientist or some other developer to try to, slap a bunch of stuff together. That just is one of the reasons that I charge what I charge, because it is, if it's necessary, then that is going to be a big part of it. So it's not usually something where I'm having to twist other people's arms, because it's usually I already have my own proprietary systems.
Twisting your own bra.
Yeah, exactly. I just have to plug them into my stuff, which can be complicated sometimes. Hence the very tech stacks tending to create some issues. But it's not even always just the reporting for me, but it's also the reporting for the client, right? Sometimes clients have different and very unique reporting requirements. Now, this is, again, not everybody, but again, if they have complicated objectives, they have big teams. I mean, again, I tend to work with the larger e-commerce brands and lead generation brands. They do have, like, a CMO, or they have a marketing department that has their own stuff kind of roughly built, and they want to have something added to that or integrated into that. Again, I am not an employee of them, but I want to make sure it's a strategic partnership, and then I'm working within their universal reality, and then also integrating my own domain expertise to make sure that we're all successful, right? So at the end of the day, there is going to be another one in here. It's not just very tech stacks, but it's also unique reporting requirements.
Yeah.
That can be sometimes an indication of a nightmare client, but not always. Sometimes they just have sophisticated processes and systems, and they have a lot of stakeholders that they personally, your point of contact, has to report to, and that person maybe above them needs certain things that they need to talk to investors for, or something like that. So that's another kind of bottleneck sometimes in the onboarding process to be aware of. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting because that does loop back to screening the client and actually making sure you know what they need.
Yeah.
Because what they need, whilst it might seem like, oh, they want to do a Google Ads, it's good industry, what they need as an individual client from a onboarding perspective, tech stack perspective, stakeholder perspective, and reporting perspective could actually change the scope of work, which will actually change the work you do and the onboarding as well. Because if they need that from day one, that's part of the onboarding, versus if in 6 months they ask for it, it's not really the onboarding, but it's kind of, it moves in that direction. The thing I've been reflecting on recently is just the timeline of an onboarding. So we've both had times where you just, like, the client speaks to you and you're like, yep, let's start today. And you're like, fuck it, let's do it. And you just take over the account and you start running it. You get access to the account. They sign your agreement. They pay your invoice. And then you've got times when it takes literally months. And it's not months because it's like, oh, I've got to speak to all these stakeholders and all these things. They've signed the contract. It's just that, they're like, yeah, sorry, I'm really busy. Can we have our onboarding call in 3 weeks' time? Things like, oh, yeah, I'll get that to you. These, like, images and logos, I'll get that to you tomorrow. A month and a half later, it's there. Yeah, we're really keen to go live. Then they get busy. So